Hi, I'm Randy. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to be talking about something that's super important for young artists especially, and that is how to know what to paint. So I get this question a lot, and I think it's a pretty important one. How do I know what to paint? So this is probably going to be a little bit of a rambling conversation, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I can't really tell you what to do, what to paint, but I can talk about my experiences and how I've kind of worked through being stuck and in similar situations. In the beginning, artists really don't have this problem. Kids paint whatever they want to. They don't even think about it. As we get older and we stay interested in art, we have things to practice on. So if you haven't done anatomy before, you can paint skulls and hands and feet and faces and and so on. So there's a certain period of time where you're just practicing and trying new things, and you just have tons of material, tons of people you can copy. And as you're learning, the novelty of learning makes it so that subject matter isn't necessarily that important. But there will be a time, and there comes a time with every artist, where you're stuck and you really don't know what you should paint or what you should draw next. And you want to, start to develop style, or you maybe are looking at other artists and trying to figure out how did they decide what to do next. The first thing that I thought about when thinking about this was the artist Marshall Arisman. So I saw Marshall Arisman speak about 20 years ago at a design conference. First of all, he's a fascinating and wonderful storyteller, so you should check out some of his stuff if you haven't seen it. You can find him on YouTube. I will give you fair warning, his work is pretty dark, so don't be shocked. Be aware that it can go to some dark places. He's an older gentleman. He teaches in New York, and he's had a pretty successful career in illustration and fine art as well. And he told the story of how in his early career, he was copying a lot of pop artists and abstract artists, and he was really kind of stuck because he wasn't connected to the work and it didn't really feel like it was satisfying. His approach to figuring out what to paint, what to draw, really stuck with me. What he decided to do was to focus, like a lot of writers do, they focus on what they know, like write what you know. And he decided to do that as a painter. Mr. Arisman grew up in upstate New York in a very rural area. So he examined the things that he had grew up with, the experiences that he had had. He talked about how he grew up hunting deer, and he grew up around lots of guns, and he grew up on farms milking cows. And he also grew up in a town that was known for this collection of spiritualists, right? Like psychics. He chose to write a list of these four things: deer, cows, psychic phenomenon, and guns. And from that list, he has been working for over 40 years. So he's still chasing those same subjects. Now he mixes them up. There's lots of times where, the guns led to things that were violent, animals led to things that were spiritual, and there's a combination of those things in his work. And he's just continued to be inspired by, motivated by that ever since. That presentation really stuck with me, and I have definitely used it along the way. So some of the things that he's interested in, some of the things that he grew up around, I find are, common in my background as well. So I grew up in a very rural area as well. Lots of hunting, lots of guns, lots of fishing, lots of, religion, and a lot of old places. I'm loosely sort of taking motivation from some of those things, but I'm also always thinking about the interconnectedness of all things. And that's kind of how I see the connection between spiritualism and nature. Whenever I find myself in a rut where I don't feel like I know what to do, I really start to dig into what are those things that mean something to me? What are those things that I know something about? And I haven't gotten to the point where I have a very specific list like he has, but I often think back on all those things that mean something to me, stuff that I have some experience with. And I'm still refining that approach. For instance, I started drawing abstract faces of family. I started with my grandfather, and that led into this whole series of interconnected, crazy faces that are coming from who knows where in my subconscious. I have a very similar approach right now with birds. My history with design attracts me to symbolism and things that have double meaning. And so you'll see me combining animals and nature with graphic symbols, and that's going to continue to evolve. I like this subject matter that is something that maybe I have some experience with, but also maybe has more than one meaning. The fish could symbolize abundance. The birds symbolize freedom and potential and creativity, or lack of potential, or being held back. There's all these deeper meanings and things that are interconnected, and I'm really fascinated by that. Mr. Arisman also takes a very intuitive approach to his work. So it's not like he's just sitting down and drawing a deer. He's really tapping into something that's more intuitive, that's more subconscious, and that is and drawing upon that. It doesn't have to be that mystical or that strange. I mean, you can just pick something that just has meaning to you. And for instance, I recently decided to do a painting of a barn for a friend of mine. And there were several reasons why that made sense for me. The first one being that I love old places. I love this idea of these old buildings or landscapes sort of having a life of their own, feeling like, they have a story to tell, or they've seen something, almost like they're a living, breathing thing. And this barn in particular had a lot of meaning and significance for my friend because it was his family property that had been passed down through all these generations. And they were sort of refurbishing the barn. And it was just in my mind that it was an interesting subject that I should choose. And I knew that, if I did a decent job of the painting, he would probably appreciate it as a gift. I kind of pay attention to my intuition. If there's something that feels like it ought to be done, or it comes up in my mind more than once, then I try to pursue it. In that case, I had a lot of fun creating the artwork, and it sort of opened up this whole new avenue of subjects that I can now pursue. That happens quite often, and I think that the more you explore these ideas, like I've been painting a lot of birds, and right now I'm starting to paint fish, again, for several reasons. There's a point where if you tinker with these ideas and you play with different subject matter, it can become exponential, where all of a sudden these breakthroughs happen and you have too many ideas. You start to get overwhelmed almost with all the things you could be doing. And that's a good problem to have. You also start to create things that other people are interested in. And then it becomes a little bit of a tricky balance, right? Do you follow what you're interested in making and what you find worth doing? Or do you just chase the money and do what other people want to pay for? And I think you have to, right? You have to do both. You'll eventually get to a place as an artist where you have an overwhelming amount of options, right? You have plenty of things that you want to pursue and try and explore and create. And then you'll have a list of things that you need to make for people who are willing to pay you money for your art. And that's a great thing. This is a little bit of a ramble. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was interesting. I hope it resonates with you all. Let me know. Let me know if this is something that you've been challenged with. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on your approach to this, and if you ever get stuck and how you kind of work your way through it, if what I've been saying makes any sense to you. I also want to say thanks, thanks for all the support that I've been getting on my channel. I want to say a special thanks to one of my subscribers, Jackie. Jackie is awesome. She's been supporting me from early on. I'm just super happy that these videos, any of this stuff that I'm doing, is connecting with people and is helping them in some way. And Jackie's been great, giving me the encouragement I need to keep doing this and to keep trying to make useful content for you all. So thanks, Jackie. I appreciate it. Jackie makes some great artwork herself. So I'll put a link in the description. Go check out Jackie's work. Thank you all. Appreciate everything. Talk to y'all next time. Peace.